At the same time, we have a comprehensive program to strengthen community bonds. And this CEP, the Community Engagement Program, is one such key constructive effort. It covers 5 areas: the arts, media, and academics. We have education. We have employers and unions, that means the workplaces. We have the grassroots, that means our community, the homes we live in. And then we have the religious, ethnic, and welfare organizations, the religious links which we have to maintain. And we've done this on a bottom-up way. So rather than the government pushing a program down, we've encouraged organizations to propose programs, and we have a government agency to help things along, and MHA will coordinate and develop their capabilities so that you can run the programs effectively. I think it's worked out well, and we've had some interesting projects. For example, the People's Association has set up core groups in all of our constituencies, which bring together grassroots leaders and community leaders, so that in an emergency, there's a first line of assistance. And there are volunteers who attend workshops on team building, workshops on crisis management. And if something happens, they know what to do. Because from time to time, we have small things happening, so they get a little bit of practice and a dry run. Many of our IRCCs have come up with their own projects. UNOS has something called Kampung Spirit at UNOS, which encourages residents to know their neighbor and to build bonds across communities. UNOS also has a council of elders who act as resource persons on interreligious and communal harmony. In schools, the teachers inject CEP elements into the daily lessons to teach students about social harmony and emergency response. And they conduct workshops, they design training packages to help the teachers, and they bring the message across in lively, refreshing ways. The tripartite partners at workplaces, the government, the unions, the employers, we are cooperating to engage firms to implement CEP programs. So there's a CEP implementation guide which firms can use to work out initiatives to bring their people, their staffs together. And the media also helps. So we have radio DJs and TV presenters because they're familiar voices and faces, and when something happens, you want to hear the news, your newscaster must know what to say, how to pitch it. And they practice crisis communications. They learn to play their emergency roles. So we take it seriously. And when you see Gurmit Singh, it's not just for fun. Sometimes Gurmit Singh has a serious message too. The objective of all these CEP programs is to shift attitudes. It's not just for the few of you who are here to know about it, but to get our whole society gradually to become more integrated, to be closer together, to be stronger. And I think that's happening because we can see many activities which are taking place, which are bringing people together. We have different communities coming together, Brisk Walk, for example, which is a completely non-religious thing, but religious groups participate. Mosque groups come in and join in the brisk walking. We have the churches, the mosques, and the temples visiting one another's place of worship. We have temple groups which are donating to needy Singaporeans of all religions. And when you have something like Chingay Parade, this is really not a Chinese celebration, but a multiracial celebration. And this year, I think the top prize for the float was won by the Malay item. Maybe because some of the MPs and the ministers were on the floats. Dancing. But it shows that people, all these different activities shows that people of different races and religions are making the effort to accommodate each other, engage one another, and stand up for one another as Singaporeans. So I was flipping through one of the NTUC publications recently. It was not a CEP publication, but it's to celebrate the 50th anniversary. And they had pictures of women who are doing things. And one of the pictures caught my eye. 4 women plucking taugeh together. Happened to be 2 Malay ladies and 2 Chinese women. At the grassroots too, things are happening. I was down in my constituency at Tegi a couple of weeks ago for a function to launch an active wellness program. And we had a Kabaya aerobics group. So they came, they participated, they were active, they were socializing with the others. I came along, they jostled around me, shook hands, we took pictures. I think it's a picture which I shall show all my residents and I can use for a campaign. Right. But this is the way Singapore is. You're comfortable with one another, you are happy to meet one another. There's no barrier, no obstacle to socializing, mingling, being friends, and being together. And when something is not quite right, like when somebody says something out of turn on the internet and there are racial remarks, then Singaporeans also respond strongly and they come out to criticize the people who have spoken out of turn and to set the right tone for interracial relations. And it's because of all these things that I'm convinced that over the last decade, we have strengthened our social cohesion and common identity. And we've pulled closer together and we're heading in the right direction. But finally, the test of all this is not just the organization, is not just the functions, it's not just the speeches. It is when there's an emergency, does our society hold together or not? And one example of this, not in this field of race and religion, but a big disaster is the Japanese encountering the earthquake and tsunami. And you watch them. They were well prepared over many years, but when it came and such a huge shock, they were still taken by surprise, of course, and thousands of casualties, but they responded in a calm, orderly manner, no panic, no jostling, very little looting. And everybody helping and encouraging one another. And this is a picture of Japanese, after the earthquake, queuing up to buy things. Not enough food, not enough water, not enough fuel. Here they are queuing up to get into a store. And a huge group, so they are queuing back and forth, even without railings, under great stress. There's no scrambling, no jostling, no fighting. They passed the test. Fortitude and resilience. So a terrorist attack on Singapore would be like a tsunami hitting our society. Can we respond like the Japanese? They are homogeneous with a long history and experience of natural disasters. We are a much shorter history, and unfortunately we have not been attacked. But if ever we are, we have to measure up and be just as resilient. And that is when you receive a report card. We cannot provide a report card today, but I think we can make a progress report. And on a progress report, I would say we are one of the not very many examples in the world of a harmonious, multiracial, and multi-religious society. Not by chance, but as a result of our determined, deliberate, and sustained effort at integration and the support of all the communities, all the religious leaders, and many, many Singaporeans. But it's still work in progress. We are progressively strengthening our mutual bonds, and with every year, our people grow closer. And with every crisis, we learn to depend on one another more, and with each success, we gain in our national pride and identity. So let's keep on going in this direction, maintain the momentum, and continue to push ahead. And I hope you do many more CEP programs over the next 5 years. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Prime Minister. Thank you, Ms. Tan.